Hi everyone, it's Rochie and it's Wednesday once again and welcome to Getting Candid with Rochie. Now this afternoon I'm very excited to have these two wonderful women with me and we will talk about a very controversial or somewhat unrealistic topic, but yes, it still happens today. So before I introduce them, for those who are new here, I want to introduce myself. I'm Rochie, and I am the person behind the blog, TheFrugalistaMOM, where I share recipes and products that are gluten-free and allergy-friendly. And also, I am a motivational speaker, a food allergy mentor, and yes, I am a mom of four. Now, for today, we have two amazing ladies with us. Their names are Bongai and Christine. I've met them in the other show called Expose and Express, and they are very passionate on today's subject, which is about child marriages. Yes, we will talk about child marriages today. So, without further ado, here are my beautiful guests. Hi, Bongai. Hi, Christine.
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, how's the weather? I would say down there, but it's not really down. You're both in Pennsylvania, right?
Yes. Yes. It's kind of cloudy over here today. It's cool, but it's cloudy. I don't know if it's going to rain or not. I don't know. But it's
Yeah, I think
cloudy.
they said it's going to rain, but I'll take the rain before the snow. So
Oh,
You're right.
yeah, we know we got crazy weather here, right? One day it's summer, the next day it's already winter.
Yes.
So, one guy, can you introduce yourself to our viewers right now?
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for giving us this opportunity to be here on your platform. And we really appreciate for you to give us this opportunity to tell our story. So my name is Bongai Mhloyi. I am the CEO and founder of American and African Youth Leadership Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization. And our mission is to empower girls through education. So thank you for having us here today.
Okay, thank you, one guy. How about you, Christine?
hi, thanks again, Roshi, and I echo Bongai's comments. We're really thankful for you making time to connect with us and to also just giving us a platform to talk about, some of the work that we've been doing. Background: I'm a chemist. I'm the current CEO of Noel Hair, which is a company that manufactures 100% organic and natural hair care products. I'm also an operations officer for Avo Global, which is a management consulting company that does a lot of work in engineering and public health in Africa. But other than that, I sit on the board of African American Youth and Leadership Foundation and have worked with Bunga over the past few years, really just looking at this matter of ending child marriages. And again, thank you for having us today.
Oh, you're very much welcome. You know, you made me cry the last time we were talking in Expose and Express, and Jenny was laughing because I'm usually like the loud one, and all of a sudden during that show I'm just quiet. So before we get into crying mode, I don't want to do that. Um, will you tell us, our viewers, how did you two meet? Because I actually met you online through the Expose and Express show. We've been like good friends since then, but we still haven't met personally. How about you two? How did you meet?
Oh, wow. How did we meet Christine? I think we met through a mutual friend. This is like 10, more than 10 years ago, I believe.
Yeah.
So Christine, she goes to a church in her area, and she goes with another lady who is from Zimbabwe. I think that's how we met. And then this lady's daughter was getting married or something like that, or maybe there was something going on in her house. So I went to my friend's house, and then Christine was there to support her church lady. Because they go to the same church, and then we met. And since then, we've been like these. We're like sisters from different mothers. But I think that's how we met.
I think so. I think that's how we met. And it's
So
funny.
are you
Sorry.
two from Zimbabwe?
No, I'm actually from Kenya.
Okay, yeah.
Um, and Bongai is from Zimbabwe. The funny thing is, sometimes people from Zimbabwe will ask me how Bongai is doing, and people from Kenya ask Bongai how I'm doing, and it's
Yeah,
very funny. Like you said, sisters from different mothers, but we've been
yes,
good friends and have
yes,
a lot of
yes, yes.
synergy. We have very similar interests, um, and so have just connected since
Yeah,
it's almost 10, 11 years ago now.
yes,
Wow,
yes,
that's quite a long time.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
Bongai, will you tell us more why the topic child marriages is very close to your
Okay. Yes, child marriage is so close to my heart. And growing up in Zimbabwe, I grew up uh, with my parents, of course, and I witnessed child marriages as a child because my grandfather, with my mother's father, he was 75 years old and he was living with this 12-year-old girl that, at the time, we were about the same age and I didn't really understand what was going on. And so my mother will explain to us that this is your grandmother, this is my father's second wife, because my grandmother was still alive, she was there as well. So, like, how is she my grandmother? She's at the same age, and we were going to school. This young lady is not able to go to school. We were playing outside. She was not allowed to play outside. We kept asking my mother and my grandmother as well. So they kept explaining to us that she is now a married woman, which at the time didn't make any sense because, how are you a married woman at 12, 11 years old? But anyway, so this, witnessing this young lady staying with my grandfather, and she would cry all the time because she was miserable. She didn't want to be with you. You can imagine an 11-year-old girl living and sleeping with a 75-year-old man. I mean, that's terrifying.
It
That's
is very
horrible.
fun.
Yeah. So I grew up seeing that, her misery, her facial expression, I could tell that she was not happy. And she also had a dream. She told us that because we were going to school and she was not allowed to go to school. She was telling us that she really wanted to be a nurse when she grows up, but because of poverty in her family, she was not she was not able to do that because her family was poor. That's why my grandfather gave her family 10 cows so that they can get something to eat. They can, sell the cows and get a few dollars. And then her getting married off to my grandfather. So all her dreams of becoming a nurse were shattered. But anyway, to make a long story short, she ended up running away a couple years later. We don't know where she went, and my grandfather didn't know where she went. She just ran away. And my hope was that hopefully she ran away and maybe she was able to go to another family and then maybe she was able to go to school and become a nurse, which is what she wanted to do. So when I came here to the United States to further my education, I did that and then I finished my school. I never forgot that, part, thinking about that lady. And she's not the only one. I also witnessed some of my friends dropping out of school due to poverty. Some of them were getting married off also to 50-year-old, men, 60, 70. I mean, it doesn't matter how old the guy is, it doesn't matter how young the girl is. As long as the father said, you can take my 10-year-old and she can become your wife, and he gives a couple $100, there goes, the girl is gone. So that stayed with me, I said I wanted to do something. I wanted to give back. I wanted to, do something to these girls that are so vulnerable. And it's not their fault that, they were born girls. It's not their fault that they were born in poor families. So whatever I can do, to help, even if it's 10 girls or whatever the number of girls that I can help, I took it upon myself to make it my mission to help those girls. So that's how I ended up doing what I'm doing now, helping these vulnerable girls and keeping them in school instead of, having them to go get married off at very young age.
So you were saying that if the family is very poor, that they could then afford to send their kids to school. Because this one I know in the Philippines, because uh, also in the Philippines, you have to have money to send your kids to like preschool, kindergarten, elementary school, and high school, because I know most people here in the United States don't know that education in other countries is not free. You
Right.
know, unlike for us, that if, for example, you didn't go to school and at around 10 o'clock, the school will call the family that where the child is, and even the cops would come over to the house to make sure where
Right.
the child is, right?
Yeah.
Because for us in the US, it is, I would say, it is a basic human right.
Right.
But for other countries, because in the Philippines, it's the same way. When they were asking me, why do you have street children? Why are they not in school? I said some families are so poor that they can't pay the tuition fee, and
Yeah.
that's why the kids ended up on the streets during school time.
Yes.
It's the same way in Zimbabwe.
Absolutely, absolutely. It could be worse, and Christine can also speak on Kenya, but most African countries, yeah, school is not free. But in Zimbabwe, I don't know about Kenya and other countries, but in Zimbabwe, a primary school, which is grade 1 to grade 7, although they pay, is not that much. They can pay up like $5 per semester, which is not too much. So the families, although they are poor, they can sell a goat or sell a bag of corn and still be able to send their kids to school. But as they finish primary school, grade 8 going on up, it becomes more expensive now. That's where most girls are so vulnerable, because there a lot of families are still backwards, and their thinking is that if you educate a girl, you're wasting your money, because she's going to go get married and go to another family. So you have to, whatever money you have to educate a boy so that he can keep the family name, he can go to school, work, and maybe, just keep the family name going. So the girls always are at a disadvantage because they were born girls. That's why I also say, it's not my fault that I was born a girl. It happened like that. I didn't choose to be born a girl. So these girls, they end up getting married off because now the parents cannot afford to pay the tuition. In Zimbabwe, high school students, they pay $25, $100 a semester, and they have 3 semesters. So for the whole year, it's $300. And for when I think about $300, for us here, it's like, okay, $300 is not that much. But for a lot of families in Zimbabwe and other African countries, it's a lot of money. They cannot afford to do that. Some families will opt to, even buy food instead of sending the girls to school. So that's why these young girls will end up getting married off, and then they become somebody else's responsibility. The father is like, okay, she's gone. So now I can, whatever few dollars I have, I can educate the boys that are at home. So, it's tough for the girls. So that's why we, do what we do and try to keep as many girls in school, rescue them from these child marriages. So, that's how it is in Zimbabwe. Yeah.
Is it the same way with you, Christine? Is it the same way in Kenya?
Yeah, it's very similar. Where I think I could echo what Bongai said, where the elementary school education is, I'm going to say, free to some extent. There might not be necessarily a tuition to pay, but there are things such as school uniform.
Mhm.
There are things such as textbooks. Sometimes even pencils.
Yeah.
That families cannot afford. School shoes.
Mhm.
And so at the elementary level, you'll find that some families, because they cannot afford the uniform, because here, we don't put on school uniform. It's not a common factor of school, except if you're maybe in a charter school or private school. There are a
Yeah.
few public schools here that have a uniform requirement. But in most of Africa, uniform is a requirement. So if school is free, but your family cannot afford to get you school uniform, you may not be able to go to school,
Yeah.
especially after the first week or two of school. So sometimes there's that component that can impede a student going to school. And as Bongai said, girls are unfortunately treated in many instances as second-class citizens. So if there was enough money to buy uniform, and there was a boy and a girl, chances are the boy would get the uniform first before the girl, because girls are seen as people who will get married and leave the home and not bring value back. So it's unfortunate, but girls are looked on very much from a transactional perspective, and so because of that, it's a question of, am I going to invest in this transaction or not, right? And I mean, and I hate to say this, but parents really, I mean, I think it's changing a little bit in the middle income families. It's not as significant, but in the lower income families where there's significant poverty, girls are looked at as a transaction. And like Bongai said, that's where you'll find a 12-year-old girl being married off for dowry. I mean, 10 cows is even a lot. You can even find a girl being married off for 2 cows,
Yeah.
you know. And so it's very similar in terms of the educational sector, high school. In Kenya, they say that the public schools are free, but again, not quite, because most kids are in boarding school. So you might find that the tuition is free, but the boarding has to be covered. And again, all of the the trimmings around being able to be successful in boarding school have to be addressed by the family. So even in this case, for the girls in Zimbabwe, a lot of the time, we'll raise money for their tuition. But what's not spoken about is things such as money for their pads when they get their menses. Because many girls actually drop out of school because they literally cannot afford to get pads, and they're so embarrassed and get self-conscious. So there are many layers to it, but I mean, Kenya, Zimbabwe, they're not the anomaly. Most of Africa is in that situation. There are a few countries, where you may find more equity, I mean, and Bonga, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but countries like Botswana, for example, that don't have a very high population and have significant wealth, there's a little bit more equity in girls' education, because it's not being driven necessarily by matters of poverty. You might find cultural things that will interfere with the girl's education, but not necessarily financial.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is something. It's really an eye-opener because in the Philippines, usually when we treat about equity, it's the smarter kids. So for us, it doesn't matter if you're a boy or a girl, as long as was if you were, if you came from a poor family, the smarter one has better chances of going to college, getting scholarships. So they might, and usually I would say the girls get the advantage because girls tend to be more competitive or they're more conscientious when it comes to their studies. So for us, I noticed that most of the people who are educated in the Philippines are actually women or girls because they're more like, oh, I don't want to do hard labor, so I have to do well in school.
Right.
So, but in your part, I think because I think for men, when they grow up, it's not as risky as women because men could say, I don't want to get married. Nobody can force them, but the women or the girls are actually being given, which is a sad reality, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the girls don't at that, especially at that young age, like the example that Bongai gave about the 12-year-old girl who was married to an octogenarian. At that age you don't have a voice,
Yeah.
and if you're coming from a family where you've already, as a woman, you've already been conditioned into thinking
Yeah.
that you're of no value,
Right.
even when you think you should have a voice, you don't have one, you know,
Mhm.
unless, you make it to 18 years old, if
Yeah.
possible, and leave, willingly.
Yeah.
But you're already preconditioned into thinking that you're of lesser value.
Yeah.
So, it sets the stage actually for other issues, gender-based violence, abuse, prostitution,
Yeah.
many other factors
Yeah.
that follow through, because you'll find a girl say she's going to run away from home because she don't want to
Right.
be married. But,
Hmm.
there's a pimple around the corner who's just waiting for that girl.
Yeah.
There's a boy who might have already recognized that that was a vulnerable person who might
Hmm.
take advantage of her,
Yeah.
or she might even get married to someone, but because she's already coming in with a mindset of lesser value,
Yeah.
she stands a high chance of undergoing domestic abuse. So,
Yeah.
with programs such as these, a lot of the time it's about, what we're doing it's about getting the girls through school, but also giving them opportunity to have a strong sense of self-worth,
Mhm.
to mitigate, potential issues in the future.
Yeah. If I can add on to what Christine was saying, it's a very, very, very valid point that some of the girls will run away from home. And not only that, the boys, I think, Christine, you said she might run away and then there's a boy over there waiting and knowing that she's a vulnerable girl who ran away. Not only the boys, but even grown men, they will take advantage of that young girl and take her and make her whatever they want to make because they know that she needs something to eat, she needs somewhere to stay. So they might say, okay, I'll give you a couple $100. Then they will sleep with her, and then they know that she cannot go back home, and they know they cannot take her home. So because she's out there on the streets, and she needs to survive. So they fight. These girls sometimes find themselves in that situation where they will sell themselves to these old people because they need something to eat. So they'll say, okay, maybe like if I sleep with him today, I can get something to eat. But so that's why if we get them out of that situation, hopefully they won't need to sell themselves out there because they are protected, they are in school, and we make sure that they get something to eat. Because if we see there's a girl that needs to be placed in a home, we do that. We find teachers or anybody who might want to stay with her at their house, and then we follow up to make sure that she's okay. But again, it's psychological. It's really bad because they're running away from home and this situation, and they are like they are very young. They are still children. They don't know how to survive out there. So if we get them, hopefully we can get them out of the situation. And in some cases, we try to get them counseling or mentors, people who can talk to them to say, just because you were a girl and you are from a poor family, you don't have to sell yourself. You don't have to give yourself to anybody who comes, with $2 or whatever it is.
Okay. So, Christine, I've heard Bongai's story, why she became passionate on that issue of child marriages. How about you? How did you became passionate on this issue as well?
It's interesting. Which is why this Bongai and I, have so much synergy. For me, it's very similar, but I think it was driven by something that happened when I was about a 13-year-old, when a good friend of mine, who was a neighbor, well, their family were neighbors of my grandmother, was married off to her older sister's husband,
Mm,
and her older sister had uh, her older sister's husband wanted to marry, somebody else. And her sister decided that she would rather bring her younger sister into the home than a
mm,
woman from elsewhere. So my friend, who was actually brilliant and had wanted to be a medical doctor, ended up being married off. And I don't know, it really threw me for a loop because
mm,
I grew up in a home where, the girls were valued. There were a lot of women leaders in my environment. I didn't necessarily grow up feeling vulnerable or lesser than. So that was the first time I really had a chance to see a young person's, hopes kind of being dashed.
mm,
Um, at that time, HIV/AIDS was running rampant, and it turns out that this friend of mine, her, now husband, was HIV positive along with
mm,
everybody else. And, got to find out a few years later that actually all of them died from HIV/AIDS.
wow.
And I don't know, it was just devastating to me to
Yeah.
imagine that, a 13-year-old could be married off. And I think what triggered me um, about 2 or 3 years ago, I got some statistics that, and this was in Kenya,
Mm,
that 50,000 girls between the ages of 12 and 18 um, were pregnant in one
wow.
school year,
Mm,
um, coming from matters of whether it was rape, incest,
mm,
consensual, sexual relations. of course, with little knowledge on what consent means.
Right.
And to hear that still there are girls who are 11, 10 years old. I mean, there's a 10-year-old who gave birth to twins, and I kept thinking, what in the world? And
Mm,
so there's definitely a crisis that's going on. And even though there are many African women who I think, are empowered, are able to really just shoot for the stars and do amazing things. What's going on with these young girls is unspoken. You
mm,
know, it's really, I look at it as an epidemic, but
yeah.
it goes unspoken. And when you find a situation where a mother was married off, but a lady was married off when she was a 12, 13-year-old, right? And she grows up in that mindset, but she does have a daughter, she's probably not going to have a voice because she's gone through that same trauma. So the cycle continues. And
Yeah.
the more I saw what this was doing,
Mm,
not just in Kenya, in Zimbabwe, in South Africa, in Ghana, in all these countries, I kept
yeah.
asking myself, surely there's got to be a way out. There's got to be a way out. Sometimes the parent may not be able to provide that platform for that
Mm,
girl to leave, but then um, an organization can do that. In fact, there are many mothers who, and I know that there's some girls in our program who have been able to say that their mothers actually identified Bongai and asked to be moved out of the home because their moms want them out of that situation because they know
yeah.
exactly what the dad's going to do. So, hearing these things just got me thinking, I really cannot just um, be a bystander,
Mm.
I've got to play a role in addressing this. And it's still continuing. And so we hope that, one by one, we can start to make a difference. But that's what drives me. I'm a feminist at heart.
Actually, I like that because because I have two daughters as well. They are now 15 and 17. And when they were talking about women empowerment, because we've been what we've been the topic has been very, I would say, very recent right now. It's very controversial right now about women empowerment. And most of my daughters would always tell me, what is empowerment? What is feminism? Is it just about saying you can do things like a guy, or is actually pushing somebody, or helping somebody get out of a situation that you feel you are treated as equal?
Yeah.
Because yeah, because with my daughters, they would say, when I raised them, is that you can't be a man because you are a woman. But then
Right.
Mhm.
again, you can have equal, like here in the States, I would say they're lucky enough or they're blessed enough to have that equality. I
Mm,
mean, they could go to school without any issues. They could they could apply for a job. I know some people might say the work might be or the salary might be not equal, but then again, you know what? We have jobs like Christine is a doctor, right? Like
mhm,
you could be doctors, you could be lawyers, we could
mhm.
be bus drivers. We are not
Right.
discriminated just because you're a woman. And actually, you could fight for it, right?
Yes.
But
Yeah.
but for some people, they don't know that in some countries, such as yours, or there in South Africa or in African countries,
Yeah.
women don't have that voice.
Right.
It is
Right.
that little voice that says they are really. I think they are thought that they're actually not equal as a man, or they're really lesser than a man.
Yeah.
That's the culture, right? Which is very
Absolutely.
hard, right?
Yeah. Yes, 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 yes. It is, and in
Absolutely.
some villages, for example, in Zimbabwe, because most of the girls that we are supporting, they are from certain villages. In the cities and in little better developed areas of Zimbabwe, it's not as bad. But in the really, really like backwards villages, that's where it happens a lot. And the cycle is continuing because most of their mothers were child brides themselves. So and they didn't want what they went through. So that's why a lot of them when they hear about AAYLF, they want to make sure that they contact us so that they will make sure that their daughters are not going to be in the same situation that they were before. So they try by all means to take their girls out of this. Even if their husbands want to marry off the girls, the mother will try by all means to take the girls away. In some cases, I have a mother who arranged with her sister to have her daughter run away and not even tell the husband. She just said, well, she ran away. I don't know where she is. But she took her and take her to her sister so that she can go to school. And the husband didn't know where the daughter was. So a lot of these mothers, they don't want their daughters to be in this situation that they were. So hopefully, the cycle of poverty will be broken, one by one like that.
Yeah. Speaking of AAYLF, yeah. Will you tell us more what AAYLF means and what
Absolutely. So AAYLF stands for American and African Youth Leadership Foundation. So that's the name of the organization. Why is it that? Because I'm fortunate enough to be a citizen of United States and Zimbabwe, Africa, Zimbabwe. So, and my passion was to work with youth. So since I have the two homes, I didn't want to just work with youth in Zimbabwe because I also live here. I care about the youth that I live, that are in my area here. So here I live in Pennsylvania, Pottsville to be specific, and I teach etiquette. We teach etiquette, social graces, leadership skills, social skills, all kinds of different skills for them to grow up. We kind of give them the tools for them to succeed when they grow up, when they finish school. So that's what we do here in the United States. And then in Zimbabwe, that's the Africa part of it. That's where we rescue these girls from child marriages. We also teach them life skills. We also teach them entrepreneurship skills. The same thing we teach here because they also need to know if a boy takes them out, how they present themselves and how to dress appropriately. So we teach them the same things we teach them here, but in addition to rescue some of the girls from child marriages so that they grow up and they become successful women that we want them to be. So that's why it is American, because of the African American youth that we work with here, and the African youth that we work with in Leadership Foundation. That's how we came up with the name. It's kind of long, but that's what it is.
So you're saying basically is your organization actually sponsors? We could actually help the organization by actually sponsoring a child. Is that it?
Absolutely, absolutely. We are looking for sponsors. You can be an individual, it could be a company, it could be another organization. And like I said earlier, to sponsor one girl, it takes $300 for her to just for the fees only. I think Christine mentioned something important earlier that we can pay for the fees, yeah, that she can stay in school, but she's gonna need her sanitary pads, she's gonna need school uniforms. Some of the girls stay, for example, our college students, some of them live outside the university, not on college. So they might need a room to rent and they will need a few groceries so they can cook for themselves while they are in school. And then after school, during holidays, they go home. So just for fees only, for high school students, it's $300 a year. And for our college students, they have 2 semesters. Each semester is $500. So for $1,000, you can keep a girl in college for the whole year. She can be in school and be safe from being married off to some old guys. So yeah, if you sponsor a girl and then we give you her picture, we give you her story, why she's in the program, because some of them are orphans, that's why they are in the program. Some of them they were at the risk of getting married off. That's why they have all kinds of different stories. Some of them are child-headed families. They are 12 years old, but they're the head of the family themselves. So we take them, we put them in, yeah, because sometimes the parents are not there. So, like I think Christine mentioned a family that she knew that the whole family was infected with the HIV. So we have cases like that. In some cases, that's the parents, the kids were born without the disease. So parents die, and then whoever is the oldest, she could be 12, 13. She's the one who has to take care of the siblings that are there. So we take them and then we make sure that they eat, we make sure that they are safe at home and stuff like that. So yeah, we are looking for sponsors. Right now we have 30 girls that are sponsored by individuals, and we have 20 girls that we sponsor when we do our fundraising events. We have 20 girls that we are sponsoring from the events that we do. But we now have 30 girls that are sponsored. But our goal for this year, 2020, we wanted to sponsor 100 girls. And then for 2021, we wanted to add another 100 girls. So that's our goal. So yeah, we are still looking for sponsors. If you want to sponsor, you can just call us and let us know that you want to sponsor. It takes if you don't want to do the whole $300 a year, you can do $25 every month. That equals $300 a year. So that's a little easier. And if you don't have the $25 a month, you have $10 a month. That's still good. We can use that for sanitary pads, toiletries, toothpaste, toothbrushes, underwear, stuff like that. So anything, we appreciate any help that we can get from people.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to just add on, and Bonga, I think, mentioned this, but I just wanted to, clarify that AAYLF is a 501c3 organization. So, your contributions, your donations are tax deductible, and so that's something that we just want to highlight because, sometimes people feel that they want to be able to give if there's a potential tax benefit from it, and it's not to diminish the value of the give,
Right.
but there might be corporate partners who want to donate if this cause speaks to them, and so that's a facility that's there. As Bongai already said, certainly we're trying to get these girls removed from an environment where they're exposed to early child marriages. But the bigger thing is giving them dignity. The bigger thing is really supporting the next generation in being able to achieve their goals. There's so many leaders that have come through this program. The entrepreneurs that have come through this program. I mean, in the short period of time that's there's some people who already own their own businesses. These are girls who, may have been left in abject poverty and are now hiring other people. Some are linguists working abroad, just the sky's the limit, for many of these young people. So we really see this as an opportunity to sow into the next generation, and to really create an environment where other girls can see people who look like them, who came from the space that they came from and were able to be successful. I don't know how many girls in this group want to be medical doctors,
Yes.
so think about what they're going to be giving back into the community, not just financially and paying the taxes that they're going to pay as professionals in their community, but they are going to be mentors, because they've been mentored. There are components around coaching. I mean, many of these girls are going through trauma. I mean, if you imagine that your father wants to marry you off as a 12-year-old, or if
Yeah.
you know that your father is trying to marry you off as an 8-year-old, what's going on in your mind, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of work that's done also on the back end. And there
Mhm.
are teachers as part of this program who volunteer and take care of these girls,
Yeah.
and I mean, we're not even paying those teachers anything. Some
Mhm.
of them even take them into their home because some
Yes.
of these girls are highly at risk.
Yeah.
So we have teachers who are bringing them into their home, staying with them the whole semester, sometimes
Mhm.
almost the whole year, because these girls don't want to go back to their houses because they know what's waiting for them.
Yeah.
So this initiative is very much about giving the next generation a chance at
Right.
really being able to have a positive impact locally, but also globally.
Exactly. And actually, I feel that, because it's empowering women. It's actually empowering them and letting them know that you can do something. You're not just,
Mhm.
I don't want to say it, but you're not just worth 2 pounds or something, right? You could
Absolutely.
do
Or one
better.
pound. Or one
Yes.
pound. you
Yes.
know
Yes.
and growing up, when these girls grow up, and and Bonga, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
There's a certain let me say callousness around how people speak sometimes, because they will tell a girl, you're not going to go anywhere. If from a
Right.
young age someone already starts to tell you that you're not
Yeah.
going to go anywhere, and it's your
Yeah.
parent, you know, it kills something within you. You know,
Yes.
so I think that, you know, like when Bongai was saying that there's this one lady who decided that she was going to help her daughter, quote unquote, run away. That woman had knew her daughter is brilliant, right?
Yeah.
Brilliant. This girl was
Yeah.
always the top of the class. And the
Yeah.
mother knew that if her daughter ended up being married off to this person, those
Yeah.
dreams would die. This girl is off to college, I think, with a full scholarship for medical school next
Yeah.
year, if I'm not wrong,
Yes.
right? Like,
Yes.
think
Yes.
about that,
Mhm.
you know, and the positive impact that this girl is going to have. But she was raised to believe
Yeah.
that she was worthless. She was raised to believe that, you know, she would be married off to some man, and that
Yeah.
really her intellect and her aspirations didn't
Yeah.
amount to anything. You know, so this has been, for me, it's been an eye opener, really,
Mm-hmm.
at
Yeah.
just how unfortunate and unequal things can be. And when I said that I'm a feminist, it was more really from the perspective of giving, looking at things from the perspective of a girl,
Yeah.
getting the chance to see herself as a
Yeah.
valuable member of society, as
Yeah.
someone who can be treated with equity, and as someone who can bring something that can transform her circumstances and the circumstances of others. And
Yeah.
so, you know, in this instance, we've seen significant growth in a
Mm-hmm.
short period of time. And this summer, I mean, typically we have a fundraising dinner
Yeah.
that, you know, Bonga didn't say this earlier, but she's excellent at teaching etiquette and social graces and things such as that. So, you know, a lot of the time in the summer, we go out and, you know, put on our hats and eat like amazing
Yes.
food. But because of COVID, we're not able to do that, you know,
Yeah.
and so we've really kind of shifted into
Mhm.
a virtual fundraising model,
Yeah.
right? Just like many organizations have had to pivot, you know, because
Yeah.
of COVID. So at this point, yes, we are raising money. We're doing it mostly online, but we're very available to answer questions and to engage with anyone who would want to give.
Speaking of fundraisers, will you tell us more about the event on September 22nd? I'm excited about that.
Yes, absolutely excited about it. So, you know, September 22nd, we are going to do a Facebook Live event. We typically run a Zoom platform where, you know, people do log in and have a chance to participate in a conversation with professionals in our community. And because, like I mentioned, COVID and the impact that it's had on, you know, the global community,
Yeah.
we thought that this time around we would have conversations around families and how they are coping with COVID and how best to position themselves to enable their students to be successful, but even for parents to be successful. So in the upcoming fundraising event that we're doing on September 22nd, we hope that you'll be able to join us. You know, Roshi is actually going to be talking to us about um, how to present good nutrition to our children and ourselves at home. You know, I have two kids at home, and they started off with online school yesterday. And I was
Oh.
already thinking, oh my goodness, how am I going to feed these people? Right? What am I going to do with it? I mean, we've had the whole summer to try and figure it out, but it still feels like a shock to the system, right?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so we have families that are now adjusting to their children. Um, Learning from home because of COVID. And so there's this question of how to balance your time, how to position the students to be successful, how are they going to navigate their classes, when do they log in, and so on. But nutrition is a key factor. So the first fundraiser that we're doing, or rather, the first series in the fundraiser that we're doing on September 22nd is going to address families and how they are coping and adjusting with the start of school,
Mm-hmm.
and especially looking at nutrition and education. You know, the series after that, we'll talk a little bit more about the caregivers themselves and how they are adjusting to COVID and working as well as managing their home. So we're excited about what's coming up. coming down the pike. As
Mhm.
Bongai said, we have some, lofty goals. We would like to get scholarships for 100 kids.
Yes.
So far, we have about 30. So
Mhm.
there's a lot more work to be done,
Yeah.
and it's really simple. It's you log in, and
Yeah.
the money that you put in towards the initiative, is what you get back out of it. I think
Mhm.
is even more than what you put in, right? So you
Right.
put in $25, $30, and
Mhm.
coming out of that, you're going to listen to professionals who will talk to you about, really develop having simple but healthy meals that are easy to put together to navigate your family, but even for your students or your kids to be able to benefit, right? Because there's a lot of anxiety around that. I'm a parent, but I was never a stay-at-home parent who taught. So how do I
Mhm.
navigate that? I mean, for about $30, it's going to be hard to find like two professionals who can walk you through the how-tos, right?
Yeah.
And in exchange for that, a child goes to school, right?
Right.
For
Which is
$100, a
Yeah.
child goes to school. I mean, yet for $100, we can blow that off with like one meal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're really asking the question: how can we bring more partners to the table
Mhm.
through this platform that we're using on September 22nd to talk about ending child marriages, but
Mhm.
also give you something, right? Because you're giving and we're giving. It is an ebb and flow, right? If I
Mhm.
win, you win, right? So
Right.
together we can do this. And
Yeah.
it's really around helping the next generation, whether they're here in the US or in Africa. It really
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
actually,
Bonga, I don't know if I missed anything.
yeah, I love that concept. You know, I'm one of the speakers in that because I'm able to share what I know. At the same time, the people who actually like, because online classes right now ranges from $25, 30, some are even thousands of dollars for
Mhm.
online classes. And for just one, I would say one seminar of that will be like a $30, you know, donation, but actually the fee that they would give is not only benefiting them on the topic that is important to them, but they're also helping a child change their life
Yes.
in another country, right?
Yes. Yes.
Out of that, it is like I would say you get really what 3 times more
Yeah.
benefits or more.
Absolutely.
I will be posting the link on the website where they could get more information about AAYLF and how they could donate. And do we already have the website running for the September 22nd?
We have to put the link on the website, but if people go on www.endchildmarriages, they will see that on there.
Okay, so we will set that date. And you know what? I'm pushing that one because it is something that I know most moms here in the US, they may not think about the children in Zimbabwe, but
Right.
just for them to produce like healthy meals and getting
Hmm.
stress out and how to manage this new school, which is online learning.
Right.
It's already worth $30, I would say.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
it's just, I would say it's just icing on the cake, the one that they're
Hmm.
helping in there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're absolutely right, Roshi, that it truly is icing on the cake. And I mean, I'm
Hmm.
looking forward to it. I mean, I love to cook, but I'll tell you, this summer it got to the point where I was like, I could not get creative one more time. So if I can learn something, I am looking
Right.
for it. I think
I
my
am looking
family is
forward to
ready
it.
for some changes as well, right? So, even as we think about, and even for people who are teachers, and are
Mhm.
teaching from home, because they have to run their classes, but they have kids and they have to manage their kids. The question is, how do you do that? How do you do
Right.
that in such a way that can help you be successful in managing your own children as well as managing other people's children across the
Right.
tube, right? And so
Right.
I think that there's a lot we can learn from one another. It's really going to be an opportunity to pick up a few nuggets of beneficial information that can make our lives easier as we're going through this and maybe just reduce that stress and anxiety around, am I doing it right? And I'm not going to say that you'll get all the answers for how to do it right or whether you're doing it wrong. It's just, is there an opportunity to do it better, right?
Right.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
then go from there. So we are looking forward to September 22nd and to just connecting with
Yes.
everyone who finds that they have a need, to have
Yes.
to engage in this conversation. But even if you feel you know it all, you've got it covered on the food side, you've got it covered on the online side. There are a couple of kids in Zimbabwe who would really benefit from your engagement. So please,
Yes.
so we can hear your voice. I'm
Yes.
sure there's something we can learn from you. So we
Mm-hmm.
really just see this as a platform that can embrace everybody, men and
Yes.
women. I know I said I'm a feminist, but guys, please come join us.
I
Absolutely.
know, because guys have daughters too, and I know they could easily relate on this topic. And yes,
Mhm.
guys, there you could also cook, so help out, right?
Right.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So it's
But
nice
no, thank you
talking to
so much, Roshi. This has been really
Yes.
good, and we look forward to engaging with you more. We appreciate you
Yes.
giving us the opportunity to talk about,
Yeah.
AAYLF, talk about ending child marriages and why we're passionate about it.
Yes.
And we really look forward to seeing how, we can give back, because we're looking at this as an opportunity to give back to our
Yeah.
families here in the US,
Yes.
who are currently just undergoing a significant pandemic. It's really
Absolutely.
disrupted our lives, and so we can't look at necessarily just what's going on in Africa as the
Mhm.
only issue, right? And we're thankful that we will have that opportunity to give back.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you
Absolutely.
so much. Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you. Thank you so much, Rochie. Thank you.
Thank
okay.
you.
So thank you guys for listening today, and I hope you would support our event on September 22nd for the AYLF. I will be posting the links on where you could help the organization to help these kids, and also where you can learn how to have some relief in this time of stress here in the United States. So I'll be posting the link soon, and I hope to see you once again next week for another interesting topic here at Getting Candid with Rochie. Thank you, and see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye